Welcome to the Elusive Truth with Rich and Larry. In today's show, we're going to be talking about, I am sure you've heard it by now, President of Iran has suffered a hard landing in his helicopter, and all 9 people are missing, and a massive search and rescue operation has begun. The part that's crazy to me is they're reporting that they don't know where the helicopter is, and then a report came out that 2 people have communicated with authorities, giving them their location, and then some crazy general shows up hours later at the crash site, and I guess he was dictating, orders and that type of thing for the search and rescue effort, but they don't know where they were, which again doesn't make any sense. I'm sure Iran has better capabilities of locating where their president is. And of course, today, it was reported that the president of Iran, Abraham Raisi, and 8 others have been killed in a helicopter crash. Just amazing how they buy time, they give us misinformation. I mean, really, a hard landing? Why would they even report that? Unless it was really bad, but they had no idea. And of course, I'm sure the Israelis will be blamed for this, or the U.S. CIA had something to do with it. Just nuts. And like I said, today they're reporting of this tragedy, and they show people in some type of mosque, I guess, praying and crying and trying to make him a martyr. But other outlets are showing fireworks going off, people dancing, people celebrating. I've even seen a video, I guess, of 2 women dancing. They filmed themselves dancing on their cell phones, which apparently is a crime punishable by death in Iranian law. Our media is going to spin this for whatever it's worth. I just hope that it doesn't keep fueling this World War III agenda that they've been pushing on us. But I'm telling you, folks, it's just crazy. The amount of media giving us misinformation and lying to us constantly over and over again to make us believe in anything, such as, these protesters in all of our universities in the United States. Really? Working, or you want Hamas and Palestine? People need to wake up and get the right facts. It's just amazing. Take it for what it's worth. Our media is definitely trying to push a narrative, and if you can't see that, you definitely are sheep. I mean, really, even look at what's going on with the politics. I mean, with President Trump and then Biden, the polls, the results that we're getting, I mean, they're telling us that President Trump has only got 48% of the vote and 44% are still voting for Biden. And really? Have you looked at the campaigning? You look at the numbers of people going out to these things, and they still try to tell you that, oh, President Trump, he's bad, he's going to be a dictator, this and that, and the democracy is getting thrown out the window. I mean, you've heard everything. And it just amazes me that they keep up with this narrative. I can't wait for a time, if there ever will be a time, that just give us this right news. I mean, we see it every day in our local news that when something happens, such as a robbery or a shooting, that type of thing, and if the person is a Black American, they will not show you anything. But if it was a white guy, you get his whole background right off the bat. I mean, it's just nuts. And of course, crime is down. Biden is just constantly just making huge mistakes and can't even remember where he's at or what he's doing. But this is normal. This is normal in 2024. Just keep fooling the people no matter what's going on. Just show them that we have no clue what we're doing, except they have an agenda. They do. They just want to take over everything and control us even more. And the sad thing is, I just never thought that would happen in the United States, but it's happening all over the world. We need to stand up and take this to our, for our freedoms back. We got to fight for our freedoms. It's getting nuts out there, folks, and it's not changing. I mean, I don't know. something's got to have to change because it's getting out of control as far as food prices, housing, gasoline, all these massive layoffs. We need President Trump. That's what they're saying. The problem is by the time President Trump gets reelected, he's going to have a heck of a job to do to get this turned around. I mean, they're doing everything in their power to tank the United States with the dollar, inflation, the immigrants coming over, and they want to call them the newcomers, and that we're paying for, but we get no benefit from that. Just keep paying higher and higher taxes. It is going to be very interesting what happens in November because it's going to get nuts, folks. I'm telling you right now, everybody's getting fed up with it, and we're taking this country back. So that's my little rant on this Iranian thing. It just made me think about all the media lies that constantly are happening, and, the Pelosi's. Why in God's name is that lady still in office, and why does anybody listen to her? She is a crackpot and a half, and I'm not saying that just to be mean. I'm better than a leftist. I can name examples of the reason why Nancy is so crazy and she's so much disliked. Not just that I'm just going with the flow of what people think. That lady made millions of dollars off being in her position as Speaker of the House. Millions. And they don't care. She did it off of stocks. And God, that's just what we know. I mean, seriously, these people are evil and corrupt, and they don't care about us whatsoever, folks. The current administration and the politicians that are running our states and local and national governments here, they don't care. They have an agenda, and they're really pushing it hard. So we're going to try to see if we can unlock some of these lies that are coming from our politicians every single day. And again, I encourage you to do some research and look at many different areas to get your information and make your own sound opinions. Because I'm telling you, this is not the America I used to live in the 80s and 90s. I thought we would be way past this on to greatness. So come November, you better hope that Donald Trump makes it in there, or it's going to be a wild ride, folks. All right, for my first clip, this is from the Associated Press. Helicopter carrying Iranian President Abraham Raisi suffers a hard landing, state TV says. And this is what they said to us. Have a listen.
بازدید رئیس جمهور از راهگذر ترانزیتی شمال غرب کشور. مسیری مواصلاتی به طول 107 کیلومتر که به صورت ریلی و جاده‌ای شرق به غرب آسیا را از خاک ایران به هم متصل می‌کند.
کلاله و بعد از اون به موازات مرز
سدی که تهران و باکو آن را نماد همکاری‌های مشترک دو کشور معرفی می‌کنند.
این حالا یک اقدام و یک جلوه است از همدلی و همکاری بین ما. جلوه‌های همکاری ما شما همین سد جاده و از این قبیل کارها بسیار بین ما وجود.
Now, I'm sure you're thinking that should have came from Al Jazeera, not the Associated Press. I mean, I didn't hear any English in that, and I have no idea what they even said. But during that clip I played for you, they showed, I'm assuming it was President Raisi in a helicopter flying around, going to some dam, doing a ceremony, and people clapping for him at the dam site, and that was pretty much it. But that's reporting the hard landing, which didn't show anything of that. Like I said, maybe you speak Iranian and know what the heck they were talking about. But again, really, I mean, I could have done a better job reporting that his helicopter crashed. Associated Press, I guess they're doing the world a favor by not including everybody in this. So moving on, well, not really moving on, but I just want to read you some of the comments that came from that clip. Some of the stuff, they're relating the fact that to Kobe Bryant, which, wow. I guess you don't want to be in helicopters. So here we go. Let's see. Hard landing on a mountain. What a joke. The fact that they can't locate means no radio contact. No one is answering. a ground-based disassembly operation, hard landing, another word for crash, rapid unscheduled disassembly upon hard landing, falling out of the sky is not a rough landing. Why put a video out with no translation or subtitles like to English-speaking audience? Exactly. It's freaking circus, folks. If you don't buy the program, you don't know what's going on. We'll have to see what comes out of this. Again, like I said before, our media showing people are mourning and black flags are going up, and there's supposed to be 5 days of mourning this particular person, or all 8 or all 9. I don't know. But I want to say something. I don't know any Iranians, and I don't know much about Iran except for what our media has been telling me for the past 40-some years. The thing I feel in my heart is that I believe there is a lot of Iranians that don't go along with this program. They want some type of democracy. They want to live in peace. They don't want to live in fear of the government, such as in Americans. And that goes the same thing for people all over the world, like Russians. We've been taught that the Russians are just pure evil and we can't do anything with them. You know, the communist and every Russian is bad, and it's, you know that's a bunch of BS. Now, the Russians are, I'm sure, the exactly same way. They want peace. They want prosperity. They want their families to flourish. They want to be left alone. They want to live life, explore life. But wow. I guess you really don't know what it's like to be worldly in your news events. It's just nuts. So again, look at every avenue you can, and I'm sure we'll find out what's going to happen with this Iranian thing, but everything's across the board, from it was mechanics. One of the comments that I saw is that every helicopter mechanic in Iran is running for the borders right now because, oh man. The other thing is that, from what I understand, that this president, Raisi, was not a very good guy at all. He had blood on his hands. He had lots of people executed for not following his religious orders. One of the weird things that came out, from what I'm understanding, is that Abraham Raisi, I guess, was going to be the next Ayatollah Khomeini, since the current one is 85 and aging. And the other thing I heard is that the person to become the next president of Iran was on that helicopter as well. So they got a lot of stuff going on, and I hope that the people can be heard of Iran, and they will have a big change in their realities, because I think in one form or another, every country, things need to change. We are humans. We are loved. We can love more than we can hate. That should be the next agenda. I mean, this is just nuts, folks. So, all right, enough for the Iranians. I don't know much about them. So let's go back to my favorite lady, little Nancy Pelosi. And this is going to be a clip of her talking about some of the strategies they use of information, or should I say disinformation, that they use against their political opponents. This clip is from Benny Johnson, who, by the way, is killing it. I mean, that guy is putting out awesome content twice, 3, 4 times a day. Awesome stuff. Go listen to Benny Johnson. You will not be disappointed. Here's a clip featuring Nancy Pelosi spilling the guts on what she does to her political frenemies.
Evil speaks, okay? Evil speaks. Oftentimes wisdom is silent or listens. But evil speaks, and speaks loudly. When this party is committing evil, they tell you about it. And in an act of like absolute, we can only assume drunkenness, Nancy Pelosi, 7 or 8 highballs in at 11 a.m. in the morning, wobbled up to the stage. This is 12 years ago. This clip is 12 years old, and explained exactly what they do to Republicans. She explained the strategy of the wrap-up smear. And it is so instructive to listen to it just straight from her. So I'm going to remove myself out of it. Obviously, you guys know, where my allegiances lie, and my thought process is, and my worldview, right, on politics. Let's let instead Nancy Pelosi explain what Democrats do to Republicans, how they plant evidence and crimes, how they literally plant crimes on Republicans, destroy them in the press, utilize their organs in the press to destroy them, and then use that as a predicate for an investigation. Here's Nancy Pelosi, while Donald Trump was still donating to Democrats, while Hillary Clinton was attending Donald Trump's wedding with Melania, with Bill. We get those great photos out of that. Here's what Nancy Pelosi was saying about their strategy, and it hasn't changed.
Down hospitals and the rest of it. So they don't want them to see that contrast, so they focus on something else. And it's a diversionary tactic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble.
You ever seen that clip 12 years ago? Nancy Pelosi in this moment of senility. So we create a lie, we plant evidence, then we use our organs in the press to destroy that person who we've planted the evidence on and smear it. When people ask us about it, we're like, look, it's been reported by our apparatchiks in the press. And then you merchandise it, right? Then you use it as predicates for investigations, congressional hearings, criminal charges. Nancy Pelosi telling you 12 years ago exactly what their playbook is. Exactly what they use against Bob Macdonald, what they're using against Donald Trump right now, and who can possibly stop it. Well, clear-eyed constitutionalists who actually care about the future of this country could stop it, because these are Marxist tactics. These are Stalinist tactics.
Over and over again, they tell us exactly what they're doing, but we don't listen, do we? Because that's nuts. For the Speaker of the freaking House of the United States to say that and act on that, and again, crickets. Nothing happens. She's still running around doing her crazy Nancy stuff. So, anyway, let's move on to the next best thing that we have. I don't want to play Kamala because she just drives me nuts. But we're going to give a couple things that old Biden has to say, because he's on top of everything. Oh, my. Clown world at its best, folks. So, here we go. This is going to be Mr. Biden talking about he's going to do some reforms so no one ever has a chance to steal the election again. Have a listen.
We'll protect voting rights. We'll pass election reform and make sure no one ever has an opportunity to steal an election again.
Go ahead, Joe. You tell them.
Now we'll take a few questions. Jordan Fabian of Bloomberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last month, you predicted the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates thanks to falling inflation. But today, data showed that inflation rose more than expected for the third straight month. So how concerned are you about the fight against inflation stalling? And do you stand by your prediction for a rate cut?
Well, I do stand by my prediction that before the year is out, to be a rate cut. This may delay it a month or so. I'm not sure of that. We don't know what the Fed is going to do for certain. But look, we have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to close to 3%. We're in a situation where we're better situated than we were when we took office, where inflation was skyrocketing. And we have a plan to deal with it, whereas my opposition talks about two things. They just want to cut taxes for the wealthy and raise taxes on other people. And so I think they have no plan. Our plan is one I think is still sustainable.
So I went to the computer and checked today's inflation rate, and lo and behold, 3.4% is what they're stating. Now, I don't know what's going on, folks. They said it was 9% last year, and we are now at 3.4%. But eggs are still almost $3 a dozen. Gas here in the Pacific Northwest is anywhere from $4.34 to $4.55, $5 a gallon still. Housing has not come down. Prices are still up. Layoffs are still going on everywhere, especially at Intel and Nikon and Nike. I'm telling you, folks, they're feeding us a bunch of crap. I mean, I haven't seen any change in any of the products that we buy in groceries. They like throwing numbers around, and Biden says that he's done a great job on Bidenomics, or whatever the hell he calls it. But seriously, 3.4%. Wow, we should see a big difference from 9% to 3.4%, but I haven't seen anything yet. So, but again, this was all President Trump's fault. Here, Biden says so himself. He says he got into office when it was 9%, and he's the only one that lowered inflation. I'm not making this up. Have a listen.
So when you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along. You know, how many, you guys do a poll with CNN, how many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks that, I mean, we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. But let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse of the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check, I change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that. Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there, and it's got to be dealt with.
What about, but there's real pain. I mean, grocery prices are up 30%, more than 30%. Since the beginning of the pandemic, and people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. I mean, that's a real day-to-day pain that people feel.
It really is, and it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend. It angers them and angers me that you have to spend more. For example, the whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it was on your program.
Same price for a smaller bottle of juice or something.
For example, Snickers bar, they did a thing, and it's like 20% less for the same price. That's corporate greed. It's corporate greed. And we've got to deal with it, and that's what I'm working on.
So Biden says he's working on corporate greed. Shrinkflation is reason why everything is so out of whack. And don't forget, we need to spend more money, folks. We know it's hard, but we need to spend more money. Again, 9% when he came into office, when it's been proven or reported it was 1.4%. He just babbles on, and I guess people believe him.
And we're going to do a lot more. You know, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this again, and I really mean it when I say the congressman knows what I'm talking about. We got a tight operation, and it's going to be. I think we're going to do well. I think, and you know, look, here's the deal. You hear about how we're behind in the polls. Well, so far the polls have been right once. Now, we're either tied or slightly ahead or slightly behind, but what I look at is actual election results. And election results are in the primaries. Look at the primaries. Well, Mr. Trump he doesn't have an opponent, but he lost 120,000 votes in Pennsylvania, didn't vote for him. They voted for a woman who's no longer in the race. They're rough numbers. I think it's 120,000. I think in Indiana, I think it was 100,000 votes. And my point is that I'm not going to take a lot of time. I want to talk to you individually, but the fact is that this election, lots at stake. Lots at stake. It's not about me. It's about the alternative as well. You know, I think it's fair to say, I won't use the exact phrase I'd use if I was still playing ball, but my opponent's not a good loser. But he is a loser.
What a bumbling mess. If you could even understand half the stuff he was trying to say. But really? And he's in a freaking room with like 20 people in there. That's his campaign. President Trump was just out in New Jersey and over 100,000 people showed up. Big, big difference. And Biden calls President Trump the loser? Wow. Here, have a listen to some of these comments from that last clip. It's unbelievable. Such an embarrassment. Can't even fill a bathroom stall with supporters. My mother has dementia and she's more understandable than Joe. He sounds like he's been drinking with Pelosi again. Look at the great enthusiasm for this guy. Dementia Joe has got to go. He's not a good loser, but he's a loser. Everybody starts clapping. Wow, look at all those people at his rally. There were more people at Chick-fil-A than there are here for bribe him. Stumbling, fumbling, mumbling Biden. This is more boring than bingo at a nursing home. Biden's energy level is on fire. Oh my God, he's about to fall asleep standing up. It just goes on and on and on, folks. Unbelievable, crazy stuff. And I do believe people are actually waking up and seeing what a clown show the Biden administration has been for the past 3 years. And no matter what they say, no one is voting for this crap anymore. Well, maybe not. I guess Biden is still neck and neck with President Trump. But here, listen to this.
Let's get to our top story this morning. 2 new polls find President Joe Biden narrowly leading Donald Trump in November's general election race. In the first, from ABC News and Ipsos, Biden is up 4 points, 49 to 45% among likely voters nationwide. In the second, from NPR, PBS, and Marist College, Biden holds a 5-point lead, 52 to 47% among registered voters who say they definitely plan to vote in November. That is still within the margin of error. What do you make at this point? It's kind of hard to take any poll that seriously, but what is it telling you in terms of the state of the race?
Yeah.
And also the fact that it's tight, given the options.
Well, I mean, we're so many months out. So these polls in May just don't make a huge difference. But I will tell you, as a candidate myself, when I was a candidate myself, I would take a poll from time to time. You just want to see, you want to test the temperature. You want to, and again, as I've always said, you want to look at trends. We saw a couple months ago, Joe Biden far behind in a lot of polls. these show something quite different, that he's now moving ahead of Donald Trump again among likely voters. Polls of adults, even polls of registered voters this far out. You might as well be watching Housewives of Beverly Hills, which I hear is really heated up quickly this season. But something as you dig into these polls, I think makes this election actually unique.
There you go, folks. We're being gaslighted to the max. Yeah. You need to be watching Housewives of Beverly Hills, because that's more important than worrying about polls and Biden, 2% over Trump right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. These people, they have something coming in November. I'm telling you that right now, because that is BS to the max. And if you don't believe me, listen to the comments on their own page. My grandmother voted for Joe Biden. She died 30 years ago. It scares me such a large percentage of the U.S. electorate is dumb. I'm confused why a vote for a guy can't even put a proper sentence together. On top of that, can't even walk up the stairs, and his health is clearly deteriorating, but he's ahead in the polls? Yeah, they're making this up, and dumb Americans believe it. So, folks, seriously, go look at what's happening at these campaigns that are going on right now. Trump, 100,000, over 100,000 in New Jersey. That's insane. And I just played a clip from you just earlier that literally had 20 people in a room clapping. Oh, Joe, you're doing such a good job. Bull crap. Undeniably, folks. Seriously. Get your heads out of the sand. Time has come. We are going to win this election, and America will be great again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play you a little clip from Mr. Tom Macdonald. Now, it's not of him doing music, but Memorial Day is coming up, and he is having a massive sale on his merchandise. And guess what? All of it is going to U.S. veterans. The proceeds will be going to U.S. veterans. Nothing that Joe is doing. He's giving all your proceeds to frickin' Ukraine. Here, Mr. Tom Macdonald, man from Canada who is more American than any of these crazy fools on MSNBC and these media and Pelosi. I swear to God, these candidates and our politicians are so backwards. But here, listen to what a Canadian's doing this weekend for our vets. Tom Macdonald.
What's up, everybody out there in internet land? I got a little bit of bad news, but it's going to be okay. So I had plans to release a new music video this Friday, but then I realized it's Memorial Day on Monday, and every year on Memorial Day, we do a giant charity sale and raise money for U.S. veterans. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to push the music video back, but that's okay, because we are going to try to raise more money for the servicemen and women of this country than we have ever raised before. In 2022, we raised $71,000. And then last year we raised $137,000. So in total, that's like $210,000, and every single penny has gone to veterans and their families. We're gonna try to break that record this year. So this Friday at 9 a.m., the third annual Hangover Gang Memorial Day sale will commence at hangovergang.com, and it will end Monday at midnight. It starts Friday at 9 a.m., it ends Monday at midnight. For 4 days, I'm going to be autographing your albums. I'm going to be autographing your t-shirts. There's going to be a ton of new Hangover Gang gear. I'm going to do signed photos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, shoes, jerseys, tons of stuff. And as always, there will be a couple special edition Memorial Day designs, and every single penny will go to the brave men and women who have fought for this country and their families. And it all goes down this Friday at 9 a.m. and ends Monday at midnight. Make sure you're at www.hangovergang.com early We all know how fast this stuff sells out. Oh, and don't forget to use the code MEMORIALHOG for 25% off everything. Your autographed albums, your clothes, your hats, your autographed photos, whatever you want. There's going to be a bunch of music video memorabilia too, like stuff I wore in music videos and that's all I got for you. Memorial HOG. Hangovergang.com this Friday at 9 a.m., 4 days only. There we go. Love y'all. See you on Friday.
Thank you, Tom Macdonald, for your help with our veterans. And thank a vet for Memorial Day weekend. God bless you all. We love you. Keep looking for that elusive truth. Larry, he'll be with us hopefully next week. He wants to talk about the Antarctic. Actually, he wants to talk about the North Pole. I guess they're trying to get rid of that for some reason. But I'm sure he's got a good explanation. So with that, take care. We love you. We'll see you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.